Hello, Midland, Texas. Buddy Webb here. I got a video today that I want to focus on a news story. A missing girl. She's 16 years old, missing from Stanton, Texas, and so I've long suspected that the underground homes said to be here, along with the tunnels, are connected to human trafficking, prostitution, forced prostitution, the oil show parties, the pedophile parties. All this is, it's what documented people said. And I think it's also connected to multiple murders. The murder of the girl at the oil show party, and I think other murders around here. Actually, I won't be surprised to find out that most of the murders in this area, even West Texas, are connected to the same crime ring that somehow can magically, has a secret police gang that keeps secret for 6 years and stop free press in America while they kill one homeowner after another. That's what's going on here. It's just nuts, with the amount of evidence. And that's what we're going to go over here. But let's talk about this one girl. Her name is Morgan Parum. That's what it looks like. And it's just come out today, okay? There's her picture. Date of birth is 2003, 16 years old, hair color light brown, eye color blue, 5'4", 135 pounds. Missing since April 16th, 2020. So this is a recent missing person. And I want to show you how close that Stanton is. I just went to Google here and Stanton, Texas, Midland, Texas, and it's 24 minutes away. Okay, so Stanton is close. And interestingly, we're going to get into this, that there seems to be a connection to Stanton and the crimes here in the underground facility. And I'm going to show you that here in a minute. And I laid this out on a Facebook post, and that's what I'll just go over, because it's this picture and this story and this picture of this story. And so a friend of mine from California says, how tragic, talking about this little missing girl. And my first comment, I said, I recently submitted a detailed tip on the remains of the 14 to 21-year-old girl. I hope this girl isn't another victim of the underground killers. I really don't know what to call this crime ring. I've called them the pedophile crime ring, the secret police murder gang. I really don't know, but it's obvious to me that it's a large group of people. I mean, you just look at how many people have tried to talk me into moving, either threatening, asking, ordering, whatever. How many people have just absurdly called me crazy when it's obvious that I'm telling the truth? It's all for the fact base, the story, the evidence speaks for itself. And so it's a whole bunch of people involved, but I don't know what to call them. I don't have a name for this crime ring, But anyway, here's the Midland Crime Stoppers tip here. And here's the date on it. And unidentified human remains were discovered near an oilfield location in Midland County, approximately 10 miles south of Interstate 20 off FM 1213. The remains were determined to be a female, most likely being white or Hispanic, 14 to 21 years old at the time of death. This tall, and DNA profile was developed. Homicide is suspected. Okay, so amazingly, here in 2013, the remains of this young girl are found outside of Midland, and they think she's murdered. There's been one news story on this in 7 years. I think that's a clue in itself, because to me, it seems obvious that our press around here is hiding the evidence and trying to cover up for this underground crime ring. And they never posted anything on the secret police. I showed them proof of X-rays being fake. They don't share that with the public. We got a sheriff candidate saying our last sheriff used to hang out in the underground facilities. They don't even tell the public before the election, right? I think that's election fraud myself, and how they're deceiving the public, trying to cover this up. So anyway, here's this young girl. Well, you can see how this looks the same, right? We got a young girl missing over here, and here's the remains of a young girl. Ain't nobody trying to find this girl. Well, that was in 2013. In 2010, my friend told me about this young girl being murdered in an oil show party. How many times have I said that? How many times do I have to say that? I provided her name to law enforcement, to the FBI, to the Texas Rangers, to the sheriff. I submitted a Crime Stoppers tip on this just recently that goes to the sheriff department, because this was in the county and it goes to the sheriff, and we have a new sheriff, Kreiner. And Kreiner, he says that he's a a Christian and a man of integrity, and I pray that he is, and that he's not also trying to help cover up these multiple murders and these crimes, because I gave him plenty of evidence, and I think that this young girl there was one murdered at the oil show party in 2010. That's what I'm guessing. And that's real easy. We're going to get on to that. Anyway, Stanton, 25 miles from Midland, and it's in Martin County. The first person seen arriving at my home was former Martin County Sheriff John Woodward. Nobody's ever explained why a sheriff from a Stanton was at my home minutes after I crawled out from being ambushed and shot by somebody under my home, but I suspect he knows something about it. Actually, I suspect he was under my home when I was shot, and that's how he got here. Because remember, I'd already showed you Stanton's 24 miles away. Well, 19 minutes after I crawl out from being ambushed and shot with my phone lines cut, the very first person seen on camera arriving was Martin County Sheriff John Woodward. He wasn't even identified until 2018 by Empire Pride Investigation, and that was after I offered a reward. That was another story. The first time in the history of America, a crime victim offered a reward to identify police, and the press hid it from the public, from the voting public. Okay, this is timestamp security camera pictures. Okay, so this is Woodward showing up at my house. That's on video too. And then he's followed by the late Midland Sheriff Deputy Mike Naylor, and neither one of their names is on the long withheld police report, and Naylor is no longer alive. That's how fishy this. But I put that in there because that missing girl is from Stanton. John Woodward's from Stanton. Okay, and there's this connection to this house. Here's a story about former Martin County Sheriff John Woodward, where he got caught getting drunk with an inmate while getting a Santa Marita tattoo that is a cult drug trafficking saint of death, which is condemned by the Catholic Church. That Santa Marita, whatever it's called, is a figure or whatever. I don't know what you call it. It's not an official saint. It's a cultish drug trafficker saint or figure, tattoo, etc. Okay, so here Woodward back and this was when he was sheriff. He's no longer sheriff now. I think he's a convicted felon. I think he got charged with assault and he pled guilty to it. I don't know that for a fact, but I think that's right. And it shows here, here dispatcher gets a call that Sheriff Woodward's drunk, and he went and checked out an inmate at the jail, and they were getting drunk together, him and an inmate, and all this is going on while Woodward was getting this saint of death tattoo, right? This drug trafficker cult death tattoo. Okay, so this is the first guy that showed up at my house minutes after I survived a premeditated capital attempted murder. Somebody drove from their home to my home, cut my phone line, shot me from point blank range, listened to me scream for help while waiting for me to die. And I got a feeling Martin County Sheriff John Woodward knows something about it. And he's from Stanton and she's from Stanton. You see why I put him in there, okay? My next comment on here says, what secret underground homes? Because if you remember at the top here, I said, I wonder if somebody took her underground to the secret homes in tunnels, right? And so then I'm asking the question, what secret underground homes, And I have this little clip here.
Underground that he was talking about, it was not 1 million, it was actually 4, and they're actually homes.
That are underground?
Yes, they're 3-bedroom homes. I asked him about the pizza parties. They said they're not called pizza parties, but I know what you're talking about.
Right, the pedophile parties. And so that was just a small clip of that one phone call that is secretly recorded, where this woman's telling me that there's 4 3-bedroom homes here, at least 25 foot deep. They cost over $1 million a piece, and this is where it's believed where the old show parties were going on. Okay, so my next comment here was, how many people telling us there are underground homes does it take, right? And because here I've got a print screen of Rhonda Denman Rogers saying, I tell her there's an underground facility somewhere near my house, and she says, yeah, I know it. It's a half block away. Now, she didn't say 3/4 of a block. She didn't say 2.5 blocks, right? She knew exactly where it is. Law enforcement, all they have to do is talk to Rhonda Denman Rogers. Go, where is the underground facility, Rhonda? Because obviously she knows, but there's her problem, right? Or that's been her problem, And of course, myself, as a lifetime supporter of law enforcement, I don't believe that all police are corrupt. We have a big corruption problem here, obviously, and but I count on good law enforcement coming in here and stopping this underground crime ring, and hopefully stopping the murder of innocent people such as myself and these little girls and etc. Okay. Here's the next comment. Layla said that she worked on this underground project that was called Safe Houses and cost $7.35 million. She said they were completed in 1987. Layla O'Brien, $7.35 million. And she said they called them the Safe Houses. Okay, she was a CAD programmer and contacted me, lives in Houston. I recently noticed that her Facebook was disabled, which always concerns me. Back, I ran out of space, I had to fix that. We just went over Layla telling me that that she worked on this underground project, and that's that's 3 different people documented already, And then I had a woman here last year that told me go look at Google Maps, right, and look up my address, 3802 Fair Circle, Midland, Texas, and then when you get there, you switch between the map and the satellite views and look at my backyard, okay? And so these are just print screens, and here it is. This is my house. I was shot. Somebody under my house shoots me right here inside my home. Okay, in my backyard is this big facility. I've got it labeled bunker, okay, on the map view, okay? But when you switch over the satellite view in the backyard, it's not there, okay? Do you see that? Okay, there it is, and there it ain't. And you can do this yourself, because you just go to maps.google.com, put in my address, and look, and I think that's one of the 4 3-bedroom, $1 million underground homes where they were having an oil show party, where that little girl was murdered at in 2010. And as we listened to a minute ago, I have that recording of a woman telling me they were having pizza or pedophile parties underground here. Okay, so there's a 4th person. These are all separate persons. Okay, Ricky Ronaldo. Okay, he told me that him and his brother used to go in the tunnels under this home when they lived here, and so why doesn't law enforcement ask them? Okay, so here we're at the 5th person. Okay, and so here's Ricky. Got a print screen of Ricky Ronaldo on his picture. He says, when I was a kid, there was tunnels under this house. Me and my brother would always go down there. Okay, he lived in my house. Okay, he's telling me there's tunnels under it, and here's a picture that I showed several groups of law enforcement, including last year to Homeland Security. And I said, look here, you can see the ground behind Home Depot. You can see where it's cut, and you look at it, goes directly at my house. I think it's a tunnel cut going from the Home Depot store directly over my home, And I'm thinking that they're, the people at the oil show parties, at the big parties, were parking in front of Home Depot, going underground, coming back over here, And then they're going to the underground facility, underground home here in the backyard. There's 3 more somewhere else. And so about 2 weeks after I showed Homeland, we went back there with Homeland agent Paul. I showed him, and then the ground was dug up and they were pouring concrete back there. I kid you not, I have a video on that, And so I feel sure that Paul knows something about the tunnels, the underground facilities, the human trafficking, the multiple murders, and maybe this girl in Stanton, we got another missing girl over here. That's what this is about, is trying to go, is that girl in Stanton connected with this underground murder gang, that is so powerful, that it let's move on to the next one. I bet you that MPD officers Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale know where they're at, because it looks like they used the tunnels to get to my home on the night of the murder attempt. We know they didn't drive up to my house in a car or go in the front door. Why don't real law enforcement ask them where the underground homes are? Okay, I didn't get the police report for the night of the murder attempt until last year, because it was illegally withheld from me. And then when I went through it, and I looked at the timestamps, and this we're looking at it, I've parsed it out. It's showing me at 11:03, Lieutenant Dickey is at my house, and Matt Davis is at my house. Okay, well, they're not seen driving up on camera. Who's seen on camera is Woodward and Naylor. Okay, and so then we also see at 11:05. Tony Dickey, a lieutenant with the Midland Police Department, is inside my home, and he didn't come in the door. Okay, well, how did Davis and Dickey, and also we got Chatwell, Angel, and Hale that are also at my home, and this is all before the front security camera was disabled at 11:22. Okay, so we got 5 police officers at or inside my home, and they wasn't seen driving up, but they're inside my home or at my home. How can that be? They come in the tunnels that Ricky said was here. That's what happened. They were under my home, and somebody under my home shot me. Somebody with guns under my home shot me. It's suspected maybe some corrupt police tried to murder me in my home because of that burglar that was trapped, and they're working with this burglary theft ring that's rigging all these homes all over the place. And the reason that that's being allowed and it's not being busted is because we got some dirty cops that have been part of this burglary theft murder ring. We don't know that, but they need to be asked about these tunnels, because maybe these tunnels will lead us to where there's missing little girls at. Okay, that's what this is about. The evidence shows that 2 weeks after I reported the suspected tunnel to the DEA, somebody under my home shot me. Triple proof shows I wasn't shot with my gun, which means some killer drove from their home to my home to murder me. Nobody accidentally breaks into a private home and accidentally shoots the homeowner, right? And that's a fact. That it takes premeditation to load your gun, drive from your house to my house. You cut my phone lines. You're under. I don't care if there's $1 million underground facility and tunnels, and you got dirty cops working for you. None of that matters. You're on my property. As soon as I bought this property, it's mine. And as soon as you come onto it uninvited, you're a criminal. And that's what they are. And not only criminals. These would-be killers. This right here is the lab report showing the size of pellets that were removed from my foot. Okay, this shows the size of pellets that were in my gun. This chart shows that the size of pellets in my gun were 2.5 sizes different than what was removed from my foot. Proven without a doubt with ballistic evidence that I wasn't shot with my gun. That's only one proof showing I wasn't shot with my gun. We also know that I was shot from 2 inches above ground level 2 weeks after reporting a suspected tunnel to the DEA. Somebody at the DEA needs to be talked to and find out how many citizens that report crime to them have been murdered, okay? Because that looks like what's going on. I reported a suspected tunnel, and 2 weeks later I'm ambushed and shot by somebody under my home. So obviously maybe somebody at the DEA knows something about that missing 16-year-old girl from Stanton, and here and this is what I believe that with investigation, and that's another video, but I believe I shot with a special ammunition, a plastic tip pellet filled bullet called the Glazier Safety Slug. You're seeing a picture of it right there. And the reason being is because it fits the evidence. The plastic tip, the surgeon said he removed a large amount of plastic from the wound. The size of pellets is the same size of pellets removed per the lab report. So it fits, right? And then I have Lisa Rogers documented saying I'm shot with a .45 handgun. Okay. And it looks like what they did was shoot me with the special pellet-filled plastic tip bullet to make it appear that I shot with my shotgun. And that way they could claim that my murder was an accident and collect an extra $500,000. Okay. And so there's your proof and some more people you can talk to if you're legitimate law enforcement. Now, if you're trying to cover up murders and everything, and then you probably just want to play stupid, and I hope someday you go to prison for it, because I think the citizens of Midland, and across the nation are embarrassed at what our law enforcement and our press has done here to allow these crimes to continue and just one after the other and just tons of evidence. Crime victims shouldn't have to be out here getting this evidence. This is what law enforcement should have been doing. Okay, here's the next one. Recent sheriff candidate Joe Lozano was recorded saying that the underground homes were Sheriff Gary Painter's hideout. Why don't law enforcement ask Joe Lozano what he knows? Now, this guy was running for sheriff. He could have been our sheriff right now. Actually, Kreiner's the one that won. And there's the video, and I'm not going to play it because it's long, but you can listen to it anytime you want, and you can hear that Lozano tells me Painter, who's no longer alive, used to hang out in underground facilities. So where are we at now? More than a half dozen people that said there's underground facilities are here, right? And this is just a comment from a Facebook friend today. Where are the openings? I want to go down and want a video. And I said, you need to ask law enforcement, And she has some ideas, get back with me, etc. And I said, please let me know. I've long suspected the people going to the oil show parties were parking in the Home Depot parking lot and then coming back this way via tunnels to underground homes. But I believe those entrances were covered up. Last summer, I showed Homeland Security where I believe the tunnels were at. go into my home, and 2 weeks later the ground was dug up and concrete was poured. I also believe there are other entrances, though, which are most likely located inside private homes. Actually, I think DHS agent Paul could probably tell us, okay? And, I mean, I hate to say it, but, my personal opinion, Paul's dirty, and I think that digging up the ground and pouring concrete was obstructing justice to cover up multiple murders. That's what it looks like to me. This is the 50,000 foot view. Here's my home, and this is where I was ambushed and shot. Now remember, it looks like they murdered the guy that lived here before me. He died the week before the 2008 oil show started. Here's the tunnels behind here. It looks like the tunnel ditch there, the big parking lot. And what I was saying is, here at Home Depot one time I was telling the clerk my story, and she says, if you happen to see a lot of cars in the parking lot late at night, then it's because we're stalking. And I thought, I hadn't seen that. It's on the other side of the building. I hadn't even thought about that. But if there's a lot of people here at these oil show parties, international oil shows, of course, there would be. They'd need somewhere to park, and they'd need an excuse, So that's what I'm thinking, that we're parking here. They were using the stalking excuse, going underground here, coming back here via the tunnel that now probably has concrete in it, thanks to DHS agent Paul, okay? And then coming over to the underground homes here. And this is where they rape and murder little girls that won't prostitute for them. But there's also 3 other homes, okay, according to the woman on the phone, right? And so I have another video called Tunnel Entrances, and I'm showing the 2 other tunnel entrances that I believe have been covered up, because I go to Facebook and go, look here, here's one, here's another one. And, that's where the live tree was removed next to the 2 side-by-side manholes, and the what looked like a tunnel entrance in the neighbor's backyard that was taken out in 2014, 2015. I showed them pictures before. And so, anyway, this young girl goes missing, and I think it was 2018, and her name was Caitlin. And she meets a man in Reno, Nevada, flies back to Midland to never be seen again. I wondered if she was another victim of this underground murder gang. Her story reminded me of a story that my home health care worker, Melissa Gibbs, told me about this wealthy guy from here taking a group of young girls to Reno every year. That's why I remember that, because back right after I got shot, I had a home healthcare worker that was coming here 3 times a week to change the bandages for the wound vac. Okay, so we're going to click on this. She's still missing. Caitlin is still missing here. Okay, and so this is another missing young girl, and I'm wondering it's connected to the underground murder ring, right? And so I told you that. Here is a picture. And in the background in the blue is Melissa, okay? And she's the person that helped me take the pictures, comparing the height of the wounds on my foot to the cabinet from where we know the shot came from. See, the evidence told me the direction of shot, where it come from. I mean, we know for a fact, absolute 100% sure, the direction of shot. It came from under that cabinet. And so here's Melissa Gibbs, and she's the one that told me about this rich guy in here in Midland that would take a group of girls to Reno every year. I don't know if Melissa was one of them or not, but law enforcement might want to talk to Melissa, because I got a feeling Melissa knows about the underground facilities, probably knows about the parties, the prostitution parties, and can tell them who is this guy that's taking these girls to Reno every year, because maybe that's the one connected with Caitlin that flew in from Reno and was never been seen again. Okay, here, this is the back of my foot, what's left of it in that picture. And then she also helped me on the same day take these pictures. And I was showing the height of the entrance wound, height of the exit wound. And see what that does for you, it shows you where the gun is located at, okay? So the gun is located 2 inches above ground level right here. And we know the direction of the shot was coming from under this cabinet. That was a cabinet in my real small utility room. One reason I knew I wasn't shot with a shotgun is there wasn't enough room in that little bitty room, right? But remember, I believe they're using a handgun loaded with a plastic tip pellet filled bullet so they could say I was shot with a shotgun, when that's not what happened. The kickboard was missing, the doors are missing, shelves were missing. That whole cabinet wasn't put together right. And what I believe is that was a hidden underground entrance. That was the trap door the ex-wife had told me about, and that's from where I got shot. I'm walking by and boom, I get shot point blank range directly in the artery with my phone lines cut. Why didn't they shoot me twice? Because they couldn't call it an accident, right? With my phone lines cut, I was supposed to bleed out and die, right? And that was an extra $500,000 the ex-wife taking life insurance book, etc. So come back, and then I later pulled this out, and there was concrete there. Obviously, that was pulled during the 3 days between the 2 police entries, and of course, this video is not about that, but it's showing Melissa Gibbs helped me take them pictures there, showing that I was shot from under that cabinet. Okay, another woman, missing, murdered woman from this area that I think might be connected to the underground facility was named Jacayla Salazar, and several people told me that she's involved in prostitution, so maybe she was also at the oil show parties, because I think there's that connection. And keep in mind, I'm not pointing fingers and trying to embarrass anybody, on that, because I fully understand that these young girls at the party were given a choice. They do it or they die. And that one little girl that didn't want to prostitute, they murdered her. And I'm sure that was a motivator for all the other ones that were there at that party. And I think, just like my friend was afraid to go report this law enforcement and told me high-level police were at the parties, well, there's your problem right here, And it's like the one guy that wrote me. He said, buddy, he says, cops can kill you and get away with it. You need to quit publicizing their business and go buy you another home. What is their business? I'm thinking maybe their business was running the prostitution rackets. That's what I'm guessing. It makes sense. Anyway, here is a picture of Jacayla, and her remains were finally found in the Monahan draw, and I can't remember, a year or so later. Okay, I talked to her sister, or her sister actually contacted me wanting to know about the underground facilities, etc. And here's a message that I got from a person, Petey Self was her name, and she wanted me to keep this private, which I did for several years. But she's telling me this, and this is important for law enforcement. Okay, I worked with her, and she's talking about Jacayla, at Burger King. She was dating our manager, a Hispanic guy, I can't remember his name, but he would pimp her out. She told me of a time that he gave an old guy a blowjob in the parking lot to get him $50. Sorry for the crudeness, but that's what was wrote. Thank you for sharing that, and I have a feeling this same human trafficking ring is behind several murders in the area. Okay, so that, to me, that told me she was connected with the prostitution rings here. Okay, she was a sweet girl. She was just lost. I wish I could remember his name. He was from Houston. Javier. His name is Javier. He was actually in the middle of a divorce when he was with Jackie. Okay, so maybe law enforcement will talk to Petey Self, talk to Javier, and find out what they can about this prostitution ring in the area. And I remember the ex-wife told me one time, of course it wasn't recorded, and she said there's 3 families that run the prostitution in Midland, Odessa. And she named them, but she's whispering, and so I don't know what the names were. The ex-wife could tell you, though, if we could find law enforcement. Okay, here's another one that may be connected to these underground homes. Kathy Lujan. She was another missing murdered woman I thought might be connected with the underground murder gang, because she grew up in a home directly across the street from my home. Okay, and so hard to imagine, if you grew up here, that you might know something about $1 million underground facilities and tunnels, and so here's the picture of Kathy Lujan. And her husband was sentenced for this murder, etc. And I think I read he was a gang member, whatever. Interestingly, just 4 months ago, I see these dump trucks pull up and remove the back fence of that home where Kathy lived, and they dumped 2 huge loads of dirt in that backyard. And I'm like, where was all that dirt going? Were they filling up a hole? Was it connected with a tunnel, underground entrance? I don't know. I have a video on my YouTube channel called Huge Piles of Dirt Across the Street. Okay, and so it's truly, this video is about trying to provide leads, right, that law enforcement can investigate, okay, and talk to people for this missing girl that's 16 years old. Morgan, I hope they find you, and I hope you're not another victim of the underground murder gang. Buddy, Midland, Texas.